everybody, this is the Sliders Review. I'm here today to talk about Black History Month, the month that is a celebration of my people, because I am a black man and everything. And it's about all our accomplishments, all the oppression that we have gone through over like centuries of living in like America and stuff like that. And even till this day, we are still being oppressed. And so I'm here today to talk to you about certain characters or TV shows or episodes that revolve around Black History Month that I personally enjoy. So I'm here today to talk to you about In the House Season 1 and 3, Episode 1. So I decided I'm gonna do both these episodes, the first episodes of Season 1 and 3 in the same thing. Mainly because that's when the show shifted and everything. In the House was a unique, interesting, and funny show that came out on NBC in the 90s. It lasted for 5 seasons. However, it kept changing like networks and stuff. The first 2 seasons was on NBC. And the first 2 seasons, what was it? It came out in 95 and ended in 99. And the first 2 seasons were on NBC, but due to low ratings and everything, it got canceled. UPN picked it up because UPN is one of those type of networks that used to save shows, but then they eventually get canceled on UPN like Clueless did. And then so season 3 and 4 were on UPN, but then they canceled it. And then season 5 was in syndication. This is the first comedy show I've ever heard of to be in syndication. Normally action, drama, and sci-fi is on syndication, but I've never heard of a comedy show. Also, the cast started changing a lot. In the first season, it was more of a family-oriented show. Basically, it's like this. Debbie Allen, she played a woman named Jackie, and her 2 kids moved into the house of a man named Marion, who is played by LL Cool J. And so it's basically one of those two where it's like they live together and they can't get along, and this and that. So then, for some reason, they decided to change it when it went to UPN. And they changed it and they got rid of the Debbie Allen character and her son, but they kept her teenage daughter on the show who still lived with Marion for some bizarre reason. Why would you let your teenage daughter live with a grown, muscular man? And then in season 2, they brought in a character named Tanya, who was played by the one of the Wayans sisters. I'm having like a bad memory. Kim Wayans. And so, but then by the 3rd season, they brought in Alfonso Roberto, who used to play Carlton on Fresh Prince. And he joined the show as like a doctor in the 4th and in the 5th season. No, in the 3rd, 4th, and 5th season. But then, ironically, in the 5th season, Kim, she ended up leaving the show for some bizarre reason when it went into syndication. And then the teenage daughter, she was only in for like 2 or 3 episodes, and then she left. Now, the 1st and the 5th season, only had like 6 episodes. The 2nd season had 20, and then the 3rd and the 4th had 22. I remember when I used to watch this show, all I could think, no matter what season it was that LL Cool J could not act. Or at least in the first season. In the first season, probably first 2, he could not act. I could not stand his acting. Mainly because he's a rapper who tried to act. He caught the acting bug similar to that of Ice-T. And hasn't really, I don't think he's made a song since he started acting. But by the 3rd season, his acting got a lot better. But since I was so at his acting in the 1st season, I just didn't care, even though it did get better in the 3rd. I don't know how his acting is now. I don't watch that show that he's on CBS. And so maybe it's better now. 'Cause, I mean, that show's been on for at least a decade and stuff. So he must have some acting chops now. But boy, back in the day, he could not. And so, like, he was a unique, interesting character. He was a former football player who tore his ACL. And so, like, he's this big, muscular, like, pretty boy, smooth talking kind of man. But he's this spiritual hippie type dude who's also like a vegan and everything. And so basically, the first episode of season one is like this. Jackie is almost divorced and she's looking for a new home. They come from a rich family, but they're having to downsize now, which is irritating her teenage daughter. And so, like, she found the house, but it's being renovated by Marion. And so, like, he's having to rent out his place because right now he's kind of a little bit low in money because he's no longer playing football and stuff. And so she has no idea he's actually still living in the house. And she is shocked and surprised to see him when it's late at night and he's down below in his boxers and just cooking food and stuff. And it's kind of hard for me to get through that first episode only because his acting is so bad and stuff. And so she's trying to get this like new job, and she ends up getting it, but she's very nervous. And her boss lady was actually in the first two seasons, but once they got rid of Debbie Allen character, they got rid of the boss lady too. The boss lady doesn't particularly like her, and Jackie ended up like making fun of her on the phone when she thought she had hung up on the lady. And so basically, it's your typical like think of this show as like this. The first two seasons, think of it as the nanny meets Hanging Mr. Cooper. It's basically like that. And so she needs somebody to watch her kids while she works. And she can't find nobody. So they pick Marion since the son really likes him and this and that. So he's trying to be like a good nanny, but then he ends up making a mistake when the boy, her son, gets like injured by like mistake. And so his arm's all messed up and she blames him and all this other stuff. And that's basically just like the first episode. So after that, it's just like you get kind of like this spark between those two. So if she would have stayed on the show, eventually they probably would have had them two to date. Which I think she's older than him, even in real life. I can't really remember. And I remember one thing about him. I remember like he had this really like unique style the way he used to dress that was very hip around that time. Like basically what it is you'll wear like pants and you'll roll one pants leg up to where it gets to like your ankle and stuff. Not ankle, but your calf. And that was just like the style back in the late 90s. My sister. Now, the teenage daughter, she is Tiffany. And she's played by, is it Maya Campbell? And so they have her little brother. He is Austin, played by Jeffrey Woods. And it's funny because those two cannot get along whatsoever. The Tiffany's more like posh and popular and hangs out with a lot of her friends, and her little brother's more like the scientific nerd type and stuff. And so like um then we get into the third season, episode one. Now, this is when Alfonso joined the show, which is funny because in the second season, first episode, he appeared as Carlton and everything. And then the girl who plays Ashley, she appeared in there too. So that's kind of funny that he appeared in the show as a different character, but then plays a completely different character for the rest of the series. Now, I really liked the third season because when he joined, I was a fan of his from Fresh Prince. And so it was nice to see him play like a different character. However, both characters are very similar. They're rich, they're well educated, they have a bit of a temper, but he has more of a temper than Carlton. The only difference is Carlton acts like super like goofy and childish, and Maxwell Stanton does not. And so in this episode, see, Tanya has already joined the show. I forgot what Tanya's about. I think she had a crush on somebody on this show. I can't remember who. And so she is a massage therapist at like this gym. And the gym is the one that Marion goes to. And so like Dr. Payne, not Dr. Payne, but Dr. Stanton, he's like the new doctor, and he's there to check on the ACL of like Marion, and he's very rude and like arrogant and has a terrible bedside manner, right? So him and Marion does not get along whatsoever. He thinks that Marion is like the valet and stuff, and so like what is it? So, like I said before, Jackie and her son has left, and Tiffany is still there. But Tiffany is trying to sneak like her friends into the house. Marion is not having that. So Tanya gives her the goofy idea of like charging your friends to come and hang at your place, watch TV, and feed them. So she does that to make a profit. But until Marion finds that and squashes that. So somebody has now like bought out the land, something like that, of the gym. Oh no, the clinic. It's like a clinic slash gym. And so that really bugs Marion. So he decides, he'll buy it and everything. And but then when he tries to get the loan, he can't get it. And the reason why he can't get it is because he doesn't have a doctor. Dr. Stanton wants to buy it, but he can't get like a loan because of something that happened where he was from when he made like a huge financial mistake. So at some point, this other doctor comes in. He's about to pay full cash. So of course, you know what's going to happen. Both him and Stanton decide they're going to buy the clinic together. But when they do, they can't get along with each other. See, Dr. Stanton's all about like medical science, scientific stuff, radiation, x-ray, stuff like that. But Marion's all about spiritual needs. Like he wants to know how your day is doing. He wants to give you some herbal tea. He wants to like, just like talk to you. Which that's in my opinion is stupid. I mean, if you mess up, like I'm with Dr. Stanton. If something happens to you, you hurt yourself, you don't want somebody to take some x-rays, give you some medication and like a brace or something like that. I don't want no tea. I don't want you asking me how my day is. Don't be asking me my business. You know what I'm saying? None of that crap. But then eventually they do decide to like to get along and everything and kind of like compromise. That's pretty much how the entire rest of the series is. And it's a really funny bit where Tanya is trying to work something, and she had to like connect the electrical appliance to something, and she gets like electrocuted, and she's just like zapping in the background and dancing around, like, but being electrocuted and stuff until they realize she's in danger. So then she's like, "Oh man, plug me back in." That is one of the highlights oh, that episode. So yeah, it's never been explained why the show retooled itself. It kind of did like a reverse thing. Hanging Mr. Cooper. Hanging Mr. Cooper was an adult-oriented show until they made it into a family show, and then they did the reverse for this one. I guess probably because of the low ratings and stuff, the audience didn't really test well with the whole family dynamic. I mean, this is by that time family sitcoms were kind of like a thing of the past, and it was more adult oriented at that time, especially with like Friends and stuff, and it was just kind of like people kind of getting tired of the whole family thing 'cause that's all you saw on sitcoms at that time. And so, yeah, this was like a unique show that just kept bopping around from like station to station and stuff. But it was a pretty funny show and everything. And it's just like it's on HBO Max, so you can check it out. I think it's also on BET subscription. And so, yeah. Happy Black History Month, everybody. I'll talk to you later. Bye.